Hey everybody, I'm Andy Fling from makingmusicfun.net, and I'm here with Sarah Jane Cion, and she's going to be sharing a little few of her ideas about teaching music, piano lessons specifically. And there she is. She has a big heart inside and on a little stand that lights up. And so let me introduce a little bit about her. Then she's going to share a little bit about her new book series that she's got going. And maybe at the end, since she brought her piano. We'll, we'll hear a song to wrap up our 4 lesson series that we've had with her and enjoyed it so much. Okay, let me introduce her and then we'll dive in. Sarah Jane Cion is an internationally acclaimed jazz pianist known for winning first place in the Great American Piano Competition and her trio's performances in Japan and on NPR's Piano Jazz with Marion McPartland. Her original compositions have been featured in Warner Brothers' A Mule, The Marvels' Thor, The Dark World, and she has shared the stage with jazz legends like Clark Terry, Anita O'Day, and Michael Brecker. She holds a distinction in composition and performance from the New England Conservatory and has authored a book on modern jazz piano. And now she's back with a whole mess of big pile of books that she's authored too. So hi, Sarah.
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody.
Hey, you're welcome. Okay, so we've got 5 questions that we're going to be asking Sarah, and she'll dive in with her most astute comments and commentary, and I'm going to jump in to share a few things and we've have a lot of similar ideas about how to best guide the student, make it easy, make it fun. So here we go. Our title of the video is Understanding the Music That Kids Play. Question number 1. Piano lessons should be more than just learning to play the notes. How do you enrich the experience?
Okay, so first of all, you and I both agree that music is as much about feeling and expression as it is about playing the correct notes. And even more so, I believe the rhythm can be even more important than the notes. So what I try to do is I try to enrich the lessons with storytelling and fun facts about composers and interactive exercises, and sometimes even musical jokes or challenges that make the experiences a little bit more memorable and engaging for the kids as we go along.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of my stories is I had to do a statistics class, so I had to create a lesson that kids would be maybe more intrigued by. So my lesson was about the Haydn's Surprise Symphony. So the control group was the teacher just playing the music for 3 times or something in the classroom. And then I had kids in the classroom and they were like doing this lesson where we'd pretend tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. And then we look and the kids were like walking down to the refrigerator where there was a big piece of chocolate cake. And at the big end, the surprise was mom found out that we were tiptoeing again, trying to get the chocolate cake, which we were told not to go get. And the big surprise, and the kids actually got to scream in the music classroom, which is always fun.
So
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah. So, and the most interesting part was the statistical significance of this group versus that group. And the kids had more fun when they connected with it and you tell stories or something or
Yes.
know about the composer. Who did this? Why did they do that? Well, Haydn was a big joker. And so it found his way in the music too.
Oh, and something that's kind of cute, like sometimes like okay, the William Tell Overture, for example, I have a
Yeah.
simple arrangement of that, like just like one finger at a time. And then I get them going like dee 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 dee. So they're learning to read notes, right? And then at the end of the lesson, I'll be like, I have a surprise for you. And I try not to go on the phone, of course, during lessons, but at the very end, I'll pull up the William Tell Overture. I'll go, okay, be prepared to laugh. And it goes delete, 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 and I'm following along, and they just laugh so hard because in their mind they never expected that it would actually go that fast. And I try to make them laugh.
Yeah. Yay.
Oh,
Awesome.
my
Okay.
grandma, leave them laughing.
That's right. Okay. How do you introduce, question number two, how do you introduce our great composers to kids?
Okay, so I like to share like short, engaging anecdotes about the composers. And in one of the books, I have like on the blank pages, I have little stories, and in the back of the book, I have some kids love them and some kids aren't so interested. So you kind of have to gauge like what each kid likes about music. And sometimes I'll say, "Do you want to know a little story about this one?" And some kids will be like, and some will be like, "Yeah, tell me." So I might tell a brief tale about Mozart's childhood. You know, everyone loves to know that he wrote his first symphony at 6, or Beethoven's determination despite his hearing loss. Like they can't believe it that he was writing symphonies when he was actually deaf. You know, things that everybody of our generation knows, but to them, they're so excited, like they've never heard these stories before. So they help that the kids relate to the music on a personal level, and they see it as a living, breathing art form that they can relate to as people.
Yeah, person to person. A couple of facts that I found, Mozart liked to act like a cat, which is hilarious all by itself. And he's written a cat duet. And Beethoven likes macaroni and cheese. It was a favorite. It's
I
silly stuff.
love that.
Yeah, silly stuff that kids certainly would connect with. Okay, question number three. Here we go. How do you help kids discover the music they play in terms of major and minor keys, musical form, patterns, and any other musical element?
Okay, so I like to use interactive exercises that invite the students to explore their music a lot by ear and also visually. So, for example, maybe later on, this is, for kids, once they've learned, a little bit how to read music, I'll show them the cycle of fours to show them how there's 12 keys and how each time you go up to the fourth note, it adds a sharp or a flat. And then I'll break down songs into like recognizable patterns, and I will discuss like maybe the structure of pieces in super simple terms. And what you can do is when you do the hands-on approach like this, it kind of takes the seriousness and takes these abstract concepts and it makes them sort of more concrete for the kid. So it's so individual because every kid is so different, but I do try to bring fun to it because there's a big stigma about seriousness about piano lessons and classical music. And you have to just let them know it's fun. One of the things I get the most from parents, they say, I wish I hadn't quit piano. That's why I want my child to play. But I didn't like my teacher. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make sure they like me. So, because I want them to stick with it. So whatever I do, I'll try to make it fun and just make it simple and break them down into like little tidbits if someone's interested in something. But in terms of the major and minor, I'll just make it simple as, does that sound happy or sad? I mean, come on, we're not reinventing the wheel, but I'll show them how to do something like maybe ba 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 da da ba 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 da 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 da. I'll say, okay, so is that happy or sad? Does that sound like it's in a happy key or a sad key? And I'll try to get them to hear the difference. How about you? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I say dark and bright because it's not always happy or sad, but along the same kind of lines. And I like to play Bach's toccata, the opening part, da 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 da. Sometimes just a chord. I mean, what quality does it have? Um,
Yeah.
I don't. A little bit later, we're going to dive into Sarah's book a little bit, and she goes into parallel motion and similar motion, the same direction, or stuff like that. So all those kind of things are looked at in that book. But a lot of the times, it's just looking at what the piece that I give to the student. Sometimes maybe I might give a student something because it has that element in it, or maybe it's just discovering what's making that music work, what's making it interesting, and a discovery that way. And then you can launch it if they've started to learn to compose. You can just take that musical element and turn it into your own piece.
I love what you just said because I just try to get the students to start drawing notes from day one. I'm like, let's draw a middle C. Let's draw a time signature. Let's draw a G clef. One of my piano students dads came in to pick him up and he's like, I'm so excited. No, it was just drawing treble clefs all around the house, everywhere. I was like, that's so cute.
Yeah. I remember when I was 6, I was drawing the letter L in cursive over and over again. I don't know. It was just the best thing.
It's great.
Yeah. It's
Instead of
great.
just like making like classical music seem so foreign to them, you want to get them to do it so they see it's not
And
so hard.
he's doing something and it was occupying him. It's a beautiful clef to draw.
It
Gosh.
really
Okay.
is.
Yep. Okay. Question number 4. What is your approach to choosing pieces for students to practice? Is it the next piece in the book, or do you have bigger goals?
So what I do is I have a bunch of pieces and I tell my kids, all right, we're going to do, sometimes I say yes, no, or maybe pile. And I'll start playing through pieces and I'll make piles, or I'll either do just, I'll say yes or no pile. And once I get 3 in the yes pile, then we got the 3 pieces to work on. Because I say, listen, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't like that. So boop, put it in the no pile. So I will just, I have, see, I don't just have them in a book, but I also have them copied so I can pull. And then I often tell the parents, okay, can you just get one of those like 3-ring binders with the cellophane? Because that way I can customize. But now that I have these books, that's so maybe I'll just tell them about that. But basically, what I'll do is I'll play through a bunch and I'll have them pick out the ones that they like. That is once they've mastered the simple reading.
Yeah. And,
But at the
and
beginning, there's only a few that they can really go do. So you want to get them to just get the simple notes first. But then when you start the pieces, you want them to like the piece that they're
yeah,
working.
I'm sort of that way too. With my primer book, we plow page by page because that's the stuff that they really need. Maybe,
Exactly.
maybe a supplementary thing. But after that, I use a method where I might pick 3 pieces out and then you give me a number between 1 and 10. And the one that gets the highest score is the one we work on. And
Exactly. So we have similar approaches. You want them to be motivated. That's
yeah,
the main thing. You don't want
otherwise
them
they quit
like
playing
begrudgingly working on something they don't like.
because they won't.
Exactly.
And then they're gone, and then music is history forever.
I always joke, like, I was originally going to call my book series, this is just a funny little story between piano teachers. But because you and I are so interested in teaching kids how to
Oh,
read
wait a minute.
music,
We should tell everybody to close their ears.
I know. So
Okay,
I,
go
I
ahead.
teach at a school, and one of the parents had told, the head of the music institute, they said, my children don't seem to be improving under Sarah as much as they did under their other teacher. Now, granted, their kids were like 5, 7, and 9, okay? And of course, they don't read music yet. So I was really, really every lesson making them read music, read music.
Yeah.
So fortunately, the head of the music department said, oh, we completely back what you're saying and we're with that. So I didn't feel so bad, but what really encouraged me to start writing this series of books, I was going to call it it was only going to be one book and I was going to call it Impress the Parents because I was going to like get them to read and then play all these like, you know, famous melodies. And my idea was the kid is going to play these famous melodies and the parent might be in the kitchen or something, and these famous melodies would be wafting through the house, and the parent would go, oh my gosh, my kid is playing Beethoven, and it was going to be called Impress the Parents. But I thought, that's a little bit of a spite title. So I ended up, it went through a whole different array of titles. And then finally, when I decided on the series, I decided to go with the all-in-one piano songbook series. And then every book has its own title, like Beginner Basics and Building Blocks or Advanced Beginners. So, but it all started because a mom was trying to get her kids, she wanted to hear something like, she wanted to hear a well-known melody. So as soon as I get them to play, to learn how to read the notes, I do want them to start playing well-known melodies because,
You
you
were
know,
you were backtracking to cover something that the other teacher didn't work on, which was like note reading and then going on. Is that what you're
so
saying?
exactly. But ultimately, you do want to move them quickly so that the
Yeah.
parents do feel like the kids are improving, but you also want them to be able to read the notes like more than anything. That's so important to us, right? Right? As musicians, we just want them to read. It's almost like the teaching or giving the person a fish, they get one meal. But if you teach them to fish, they can eat a whole lifetime. Same
Yeah.
thing. If you learn to play one piece, maybe as an adult, you can sit down and play that one piece. But if you read music, you can play music your whole life and enjoy it.
Yeah. And it doesn't take you a month to learn a song. It's just there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I, what is, Paul McCartney is epically talented and epically successful more than most people. And he doesn't read music, but there's so many people out there that their careers could have been so much more because if they did, and they don't, and they keep themselves from being able to do so much. Like I can walk in, I played a gig last year. I walked in, took the music from the guy, sat down, played for an hour, and his concert was over. I never saw the music before. I never saw it again, but I was able to do that.
I know we're very lucky like that. I have noticed though, because I have a lot of friends who are singers and not everybody's different. Some people it's almost like like if I look at math, my brain goes mushy. So when some people look at music, it happens to them. So I feel like if you can catch them when they're really little, before they have any kind of construct about, oh my gosh, this looks confusing. If you break it down, you get them real young, and then you start to teach them to read, then we can kind of overcome that super early on. But I think as an adult, it's very hard to go back and try to teach an adult how to read music if they never learned. So that's
Especially,
why we want to get them early.
yeah, if it seems difficult, they'll just shut down. All right, last question. What are a few standout moments in teaching where you've seen a light bulb turn on or the kids have gotten excited about discovering something about the music that they're playing?
Well, one of my favorite moments was when a student, after struggling with a transposition, he finally played a familiar tune in a different key. Like I had them do it in C, then I had them do it in F, and they had them do it in G. And then they said, I can really hear the difference. And I got really excited about that. Just the simple moments. And another time, a student improvised a short solo over a tiny chord progression. And later they said that they felt that they were speaking their own language. And moments like these are incredibly rewarding to a teacher because they remind me that every bit of practice builds towards a deeper understanding and joy in music.
Yep, the journey's never over. You just I tell people the more you discover about music, the more you discover how little you know. And the doors, everything just opens bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. Hey, if you haven't tuned out yet, we're going to surprise you with something special at the end. Sarah's going to play, and it's wonderful. But first, we're going to dive into a little bit about her book. So, just give you a little share. And so if I don't forget at the end, make sure to check in the description. We're going to throw a couple links to her website and to her Amazon store so you can check things out further. Here we go. Here's the first page of Sarah's book, the all-in-one piano songbook, which all of her books are called that. And then the particular title of this book is Beginner Basics, Building Blocks, and this is her theory book. What do you want to share about this? The basic summary of your book.
I just want kids to learn how to read note by note. And I also put a word or a lyric, as so to speak, of kindness under each word so that you can play with rhythm. And it also teaches kindness and love.
Yeah, this book is all about getting to understand music and love it too. All right, here we go. Page number 2. I just chose a couple sample pages along with Sarah. Then we're going to just share 5 pages of a 212 page, incredibly comprehensive book for young beginners. Okay, discovering treble clef notes.
Well, we always want the kids to learn the basics of what do the spaces mean and where do they correlate on the piano, what do the lines spell. So I like to have the kids kind of come up with their own mnemonic, so to speak. Like you and I grew up with every good boy does fine, everybody knows that. But a few cute new ones have come up, like every good boy deserves fudge or every good burger deserves fries. So I try to make it fun and memorable for the kids.
Awesome. Okay, page number 3, Fantastic F. So I know there was a couple fantastic pages before this. CDF. Tell me something about this page.
Well, I start with Curious Cat, and then we go to Dashing Dog, and we go to Elephant E, and then when we get to Fantastic F, I have just introduced the eighth note. So what I'm trying to do is introduce one note at a time, and also get used to playing in the rhythm of 4/4 time. And now I have the eighth note. So what we can do is practice playing very strong, fun rhythm, and we can clap it and we can play it one note at a time. So it's easy and basically a kid can feel accomplished right away.
Yeah. And so I should say this is not so much a playing book as a become acquainted book, but you can certainly clap this. You can play it on one note on the piano. And just it's a discovery book too. Okay, next page, parallel motion. What are you trying to teach on this page?
Okay, so once we start to introduce two hands together, we start with unison, which is playing the same notes at the same time. And then because when you teach the finger numbers and it's backwards, so some kids get a little confused, like thumbs are both ones and then twos and threes, fours, and pinkies are fives, and they go backwards. So for then I introduce contrary motion, which is basically fives, fours, threes, two, ones at the same time, and it sounds really cool. But then when we do parallel motion, it's different because we can introduce harmony right away, but you have to get them to know that we're all going in the same direction. But now sometimes it can get a little confusing, so I left the finger numbers out, but we wanted them to say, okay, now all the fingers are going this way, all the fingers are going that way. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can approach playing with two hands without sort of overwhelming a beginner.
Yep. And yeah, we talked earlier in the thing we were doing all the questions about how do you introduce different musical elements, and this is parallel motion, and this is how she's going about that in her theory book. And the last page, I felt like Sarah should share this particular page because it's sort of a summary about all about her and her book, Music is a World We Create with Our Hands and Our Hearts. Okay, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. But before we go, I want you to play.
And
So with everything you want to know and have confidence, does this girl know anything about anything? Well, it turns out, yes, she does. And she's going to play the piano for us right now. Here we go with a chorus of Autumn Leaves with Sarah Cion.